Hello, everyone. So today is December 10th, and I'm going to be talking about Young Ripper 59's, aka Eric July's second recent video titled Where Conservatives Lose Culture Wars and Funding. Now, I'm just going to play a incy-wincy bit of this and add my commentary to it. So, anyways, let's play.
Now, today, I do want to talk about something that I've been speaking about since I've been in the public sphere for the last 15 years, something I'm very passionate about. And my good friend Matthew Marsden had such an excellent post that I want to share with you guys here. And him and I, obviously, with Blaze, we stood outside the studio and talked about this extensively, right? But this is what he says. This is obviously in response to this. We talked about this on the show the other day. Netflix has a new film called Queen of Coal that's dropping. It's about some trans chick.
Okay, so there's going to be a new movie called Queen of Coal on Netflix on December 19th. To summarize the description, it's about a trans coal miner who gets discriminated against because of superstition and patriarchy. So that's just a summary of the three-line description. Nonetheless, this is coming out months after the boycotts. Now, I just want to say that when it comes to right-leaning boycotts, it's most of the time doesn't work. So what is the solution? Creating an alternative culture. And a lot of people have been preaching about this for years. Eric July has been preaching about this for so many years. Okay, Razorfist even said, don't cry about the culture, become the culture. I have no problem with people pointing out their grievances when it comes to a lot of modern media. I'm fine with that. However, when it comes to, finding a solution, boycotting isn't the solution. It's I would say just a band-aid, really, because at the end of the day, like Netflix and all these other streaming services, these politically correct streaming services, sure, they want your dollar, but they would obviously undermine your values at the end of the day. And even Eric said something along the lines of years ago, you fund them, they won't fund you. And that's true. That is true. So obviously we have to create the solution, create alternative culture, and not just wait for these guys to change. Now, some of these studios are changing, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be permanent. You just got to enjoy what little time you have with these companies, because, years later, they can easily switch and dump 10 times more politically correct content. And anyways, I'm just going to continue playing this.
That wants to be in the coal mine. It's ridiculous. But Matthew says, I cannot raise $3 million for a movie with an A-list director from conservative investors. You think this was a movie that people want to see? What is the cash return of investment on this? I'll tell you what it is. They're normalizing dysfunction, paying the creators and actors shit done while doing it. This is why we lose.
Okay, so if you did not hear what Eric said, well, because he was reading really fast, and since I'm playing this video 2x speed, it sounds like he's running a marathon and winning the marathon. So he's reading a tweet from Matthew Marsden. Now, I think I follow this guy. I've seen some of his tweets on a couple of times. Nonetheless, this video is how I saw this tweet. So I'm gonna read these 4 sentences. Well, actually, not 4 sentences, sorry, many sentences. So I cannot raise $3 million for a movie with an A-list director from conservative investors. Then he says, you think this was a movie that people want to see? What is this cash ROI on this? I'll tell you what it is. They are normalizing dysfunction and paying the creators and actors a shit ton while doing it. This is why we lose. 100% agree. So the first statement was about him talking about how conservative investors won't even give a measly $3 million. Now, I know $3 million is a lot, but a lot of these conservative investors have backed politicians with millions of dollars. And many of them do have their own companies to run and invest in and stuff like that. But $3 million for a movie, obviously they could easily spare $3 million, but that's the problem. It's like our investors most likely aren't going to be funding these films. And that's so sad. Even if they aren't interested in entertainment, they need to realize that its impact is outstanding. And we have been losing for decades. And so yeah, at the end of the day, these guys can continue to make movies like this or shows. And even though people are going to dunk on this movie, just remember that Netflix can produce something much more high quality than this. Install, certain types of scenes and just kind of hide it in between, you know, wedge it in between scenes, you know, and people will just have to go with it and say, oh, it's good, you know, sure, I don't like that scene, but everything else is good, you know, and very soon they'll just do more stuff like that, and you can't complain about it. Obviously, you'll get called a grifter online. So, you know, the solution is to fund the alternatives, create the alternatives, celebrate the alternatives. Anyways, let's continue to play
He
it.
is obviously totally correct on that, but here's what I want to discuss. You know, maybe you read the title or something like that, you maybe see the term conservative and stuff. That's to get your attention because really this isn't a conservative versus liberal or whatever you want to call them. This is more leftist versus non-leftist. And I don't think people understand not only how bad it is, but on the other side, maybe this is a white people. They don't understand how much power that like people that aren't leftists have to change this and to course correct. They just lack the focus. Now, as you heard me talk about, Breitbart seemed to be the one person really driving this home to conservatives that politics on the downstream of culture change. Culture changes politics by default. This, however, is something the leftists have known forever. They infiltrated pretty much every institution because of that. They understood that if we can get control of the hearts of these people, then we'll get their minds into politics by default. And that's exactly what they did. They worked especially hard, which is why it's almost going to be impossible to, like, let's say, take those institutions back. You're going to really have to raise these alternative ones, and from the infrastructure on up, it needs to be kind of rooted in at least value and liberty. But
Okay, so Razor Fist did a video on this, by the way, many years ago, and it was basically titled, I think, The Last Gasp of Red Hollywood or something like that. A really good video. I watched it like a billion times, so I'm getting really bored of that video, but that video is so true. It's that, you know, once upon a time there used to be like two sides of Hollywood, and the Republican side of Hollywood kind of gave up, I would say, for the most part, and that's why you don't get a lot of like a lot of like very good stuff coming out these days. Well, I'm not saying that it has to be, you know, good stuff means that no, it doesn't mean that only Republicans can make stuff. I mean in the sense of like, you're not getting any like overtly conservative stuff, you know, like quality conservative stuff. Those are the words I'm trying to reach for. Yeah, and that's the thing, you know. I'm not going to play the full video. I'm just going to read 2 comments now. But let me just say that it's imperative that a lot of the mainstream conservatives out there wake up. I know it's a mantra on the right. Culture is upstream from politics. It is true, but obviously we need to see some action off this mantra. You know, I want to see the mainstream conservatives, you know, just do more of this. So here are 2 comments I'm going to read. So the first one is, conservative media has been held back for years by primary investors, being people who don't really like or consume art the way that modern audiences do, and so they still set rules and regulations for funding projects that feel like they are 50 years out of date or more. There have been a few conservative studios I've seen where the people running it or investing it genuinely do not understand good art from bad art and have zero understanding as what people like. Their goal tends to be, yay, we made conservative-leaning film, comic, animation, instead of saying, yay, we made a good product. This is an even bigger issue in the Christian media market. Now, I feel like there is a renaissance of Christian entertainment, but still, yeah, this comment is correct. You know, I have no issue, I've said this before a billion times, I have no issue with, like, satire. I have no issue with documentaries, but at the same time, I feel like if we only do like political satire, then we're not really achieving that much. Not everything has to be about owning the libs. Even the other day, I was like just lightly watching this interview, Michael Knowles interviewing Andrew Klavan about his book, and one of the comments said, yes, we need to be more involved in culture and make beautiful art, but not the own the libs kind of art. And I agree with that. Not everything has to be about owning the libs. I know that Hollywood is obsessed with owning the chuds. Let them be more obsessed. That's on their mind. We're living rent free in their minds. Let them continue to do that. I have no interest in that. Okay, I want to see what we can do, the great achievements, and anyways, let's just continue to read the next comment. So, in my opinion, the lack of focus on the right's attempt to create culture seems to stem from 1, the shock of all our IPs being corrupted in real time, 2, the right neglecting culture, 3, the right fighting to win back culture at a disadvantage, and 4, a notorious crabs in the bucket mentality. What I can see that can solve all four issues would probably be number one, letting go of nostalgic IPs to allow for new ones to flourish. This one's really heavy, but it is true. I have no issue with indulging in the past. I recommend indulging in a lot of media from the past: TV shows, movies, video games. Um, what else? Books, comic books, just all sorts of things. Just enjoy it. However, it doesn't mean that those IPs are are now the only thing we can enjoy. I've seen, a few years ago, even last year too, I came across, was it last year or this year? Now I can't remember, but I remember seeing like a few people with, I would say, this kind of like, let's not create anything mentality. All the good stuff have been made before. Now, yes, a lot of good stuff have been made. Even last century, a lot of stuff have been made. But it doesn't mean that all the good stuff have been made. Like there's plenty of room for more good stuff. And we can't just ignore the new stuff. So enjoy the past, but also make room for the new stuff. Enjoy the new stuff, because there are so many good stuff that can come out, during this era. But obviously, we just need that right push in the proper direction. So yeah, obviously, it's disappointing to say that we have to like give up the IPs. I don't really mean give up as in like just stop enjoying them, but I mean in the sense of like you can enjoy them, but understand that many of them are already going to be purchased. And obviously, they're going to be used against you and against their foundational principles. If there's a series that was created based on morals, guess what? It's going to be used against those morals. So yeah, just kind of expect that, but still make room for the future. Uh, Anyways, to reinvigorate the right interest in art and culture. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of beauty in various things, and not everything has to be just simple stuff, like very bland stuff. You can really make some really colorful, really fantastical works of art. Decades ago, I viewed Disney worked on Fantasia, and Fantasia was this art movie that did not do well at the box office, I guess. But at the end of the day, I've seen some segments of it, and it's just so beautiful. It's like, oh my gosh, this was happening in the 30s. Wow, that's so beautiful. Wow. Anyways, yeah, we need more eye art like that. And eye art doesn't just mean boring stuff. I know, I know sometimes it will sound boring, but you can make it really fun. You can have an action adventure story that's eye art. Um, for example, the Lord of the Rings movies are really good. Not just from like the behind the scenes perspective, but also from just a viewer perspective. If you're watching the behind the scenes stuff, you would know that they did a lot of fantastic stuff just to make this movie work. But from just a viewer's perspective, obviously, you feel the scene, right? When you listen to the music, it's so emotional, it's so strong. Everything is just, connecting with your emotions. That's what we have to do with art. Even if it's the most sensationalist piece of material out there, it should definitely connect you in. Okay, the next one is, um, okay, work to grow a parallel infrastructure to facilitate culture for the right. Now, we need a lot of places to have a bunch of shows and movies and video games, a lot of companies to do that. And I know a lot of people would say, well, we have Angel Studios. Yes, we do, but Angel Studios mostly focuses on Christian stuff, and they do a phenomenal job producing and distributing content. But they have limitations. For instance, I won't be able to take a story about two lesbian princesses and say, oh, here we go. Can you make this into a show? No, absolutely not. Even if the story is extremely based in pro-life values, they're still going to reject it. They have limitations. So we can't rely only on Angel Studios. Same with Daily Wire. I know they're working on the Pendragon cycle, and that should be the bar for a lot of, like, you could say, budget shows, really, like sorry, I'm making a mistake over here. High budget shows sorry, I would say middle budget shows. Am I really using the right words? I don't know. But the Pendragon cycle looks beautiful. And obviously when you watch the behind the scenes stuff, there's a lot of love and passion and beauty just being poured into it. A lot of soul being poured into the project. So you can really see that blossom on the finishing effect. Well, the trailers obviously are going to change things for trying to gain attention, but still, when you see the finished scenes, at least a few of them on the trailer, everything just feels so strong, neatly knitted together. So yeah, we need like okay, sorry, I just mentioned the Pendragon cycle again. Wow. I kept mentioning it. Okay, anyways, back on point when it comes to like Daily Wire Plus, they do have certain raunchy shows, but it doesn't mean that they'll accept everything. So there needs to be more companies that can accept certain types of adaptations, certain types of video games, stuff like that, because we can't just expect one or two studios to do everything. 4, slap down any person with crabs in the bucket mentality. So crabs in the bucket mentality, I totally forgot about this, by the way, so I had to look this up. It's basically people in your own space, in your own zone, who would just pull you back down and not want you to succeed, or to really you could say, what's the word? I'm trying to look for the words. Trying to look for a more poetic word. Okay, but they don't really want you to rise up in life. They want you to remain where they are. And you will get that. I've seen that type of mentality when it comes to the Rippaverse. There are plenty of a lot of the, okay, not every comic skater, but there have been a few prominent comic skaters who have been so against Eric July, have been turning on him, and just anytime Eric says something, all of a sudden it's a big issue. Oh my gosh, did you know that Eric raised funds? What a scandal. It's not like these guys are also raising funds. It's like they always want to put you down. Now, obviously, this doesn't happen with every person, but you can clearly see it happening when it comes to like these smaller spaces. But still, what I've noticed is a discouragement issue. You will have people who love to discourage you, and at the end of the day, it's so disappointing to see that. But still, we just gotta keep going forward. So yeah, okay. Sadly, it seems that the only thing standing in the way of the right taking back culture is their own poor mindset and infighting. Correct. Speaking of infighting, I remember checking the official trailer Pendragon cycle comments on Twitter, and a lot of the like Griper folk, not all of them, but many of them, was saying that this looks like garbage. This is bad. Hire real filmmakers. Now, if they did at least a 10-second Google search, they would know that Daily Wire did hire actual good filmmakers to work on this. Hollywood level filmmakers. In fact, the horses they used are also some of the horses that were seen in shows like The Witcher, by the way. Okay, these guys got the right contact and the right connections to make this show. But still, at the end of the day, you will have this infighting where people want to see the show collapse because they don't like the Daily Wire. And I get it. Not everyone has to like the Daily Wire or worship them. But it's like, I want to see more projects like this, not just coming from them, but coming from other conservative-leaning folk out there. That's what we need to see, and we need to encourage shows and movies like this. Anyways, yeah, okay. The only hope is as more IPs get corrupted by leftists, it'll inspire more people to create art and culture. But until then, the left will remain dominant in the culture sector. And that's the thing. It's like how long are we gonna keep on waiting until what? We don't have everything from the past. I mean, as I said before, a lot of things from the past have been taken, but there's still some stuff left which you can scrape off and maybe purchase the rights to make a film out of. But it doesn't mean that that's going to happen for every single IP. So the best solution is to create newer stuff. And I'm all about new stuff, by the way. I love indulging in the old, but I love new stuff. So tell me your opinion on this. Sorry if this was so long. Oh my gosh, this is 20 minutes. Guys, I have to edit this video. You know how annoying this is. Maybe I'll just put an image. over because I'm so lazy, guys. I'm so lazy. Anyways, bye-bye.